All right, let's start all over again. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar for today. I was just making sure that all of our technology was in working order, and I'm glad to see everybody joining us here and on Facebook. So we'll give people a few more minutes to join us. And so we again are here on Zoom and live on Facebook. So if you are here, make sure you get comfortable. And as we go along, today we'll have a presentation from Wellness Promotion. And Micah Harrell is here with us today to present on everything that families can do supporting student success outside of the classroom, particularly about students staying healthy, making healthy choices, and what resources are available here at UAB to help you and your student navigate the college experience. So as we get started, just make sure that as questions come up, you can put them in the Q&A section here or in the comments section on Facebook, and then we will get to those at the end. If at any point you have additional questions that come up, and you want to send them to us, you can send them to us at families@uab.edu or to Wellness Promotion, and Micah will share the email address later on. So again, before we get started, and while we give people a few more seconds to get on, to hop on Zoom and Facebook, remember all of our previous webinars have already been uploaded to our website, uab.edu/families. So if you missed it, or if you would like to see it again or share it with other family members, they are on our website, and then they're also on Facebook. So if you scroll down through the pages, through the different dates in Facebook, you will see the previous webinars. And this one will be up there as well at the end, and you can view it again, share it with other family members, and let us know what you think. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Micah so that she takes us on this wonderful presentation by Wellness Promotion. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. Welcome, families. We are so excited that your student is going to be joining us this fall. Hopefully, I know that you are getting so much information as you make this transition. And so I am excited to talk with you a little bit about how we support your student success outside of the classroom so that they can be successful inside of the classroom. My name, as Carmen mentioned, is Micah Harrell. I am the Director of Wellness Promotion here at UAB. Today we are just going to go through a few little things. Wellness Promotion is an office that is here really is student facing to support your student success. I'm going to talk a little bit about our office and our key topics. I'm going to mention the Blazer-Well publication a few times. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the topics that we cover and how you can have conversations with your student about these things as well, and then how your students can get involved with us. So with that, I'm going to just very quickly show you who the Wellness Promotion professional staff team is. And so these are just our full-time professional staff members, myself, the Associate Director, Alyssa Howard, and our Coordinator, Matthew Ochoada. What you don't see featured in our staff page is all of the students that are employed with us. We have students that work with us both in volunteer and in paid positions as peer health educators, and they are a critical part of our program that we know makes such a big difference in the work that we do, because the students are leading the conversations that and influencing other students about the topics that we provide education on. So as you saw from the overview, we have some key topical or areas of focus that we are getting out in front of your students to educate them, have conversations with them, try to help them just think critically about these issues and the decisions that they're making or the experiences that they're having. And so we provide health promotion and prevention education on substance misuse, on interpersonal violence, and also promoting self-care, stress management, sexual health, and sleep for our students. And we do this in a variety of ways. Our students are out and about on campus doing presentations, events. We have weekly outreach where we're tabling or we'll have our gazebo. And then we also teach a course and also a training series. So there's lots of ways that we're getting out there and trying to get in front of students and engaging with them, as well as opportunities for your students to get involved with us. One of the things that we know is that families and the conversations that you have a significant impact on students' knowledge about these topics and also ability to make kind of healthy behaviors and healthy choices related to these topics. And so hopefully you've already been having conversations with your student about substance use, healthy relationships, how they manage their stress, and making sure that they recognize the importance of having healthy sleep habits. And if not, you still have time. We know that what's really important is that when families have these conversations prior to their student arriving at school, that helps their student kind of be primed to kind of make the decisions that they need to help themselves be successful and have a healthy college experience. We also recognize, though, that sometimes it can be awkward to talk about things like substance use, and we aren't always equipped and knowing what to say. And so hopefully today's conversation will help. And then also the Blazer Well, which I'll allude to again in a moment, will give you some additional tools and resources for how to think through these conversations with your students. And I think one of the biggest things is this last bullet here, which is that simply by showing belief in your student to be able to handle difficulties and make healthy choices is one of the most important things we can do. College is such a wonderful time, and your student is going to be navigating the world as kind of an adult, a solo adult for the first time. And so you letting them know that they can handle the tough stuff is actually really important. And that not all the decisions are easy, and that sometimes they're going to make a wrong decision, but that you know that they can deal with those things and that they've just got your support is just such an important thing. Um, Another thing that we know is actually really important to student success is early involvement. They are going to have so many opportunities to get involved on campus, and we really want them to embrace that from the beginning. And so, things that they can be thinking about or that you can be talking with them about is how are they going to identify their peer group and how are they going to evaluate their peer group, right? We want them to build a positive, supportive peer group. We want them to really build those critical decision making skills. They need to make the decisions so they then have the experience of doing that. And we want them to feel connected and supported on campus. And when they get involved early, these are things that can happen as a byproduct of that. For our department, one of the top ways that students can get involved is we teach a 3 credit hour course. It can be used as a general elective if your student happens to have a slot for a general elective in their curriculum. And our course is not only will they get college credit, but they'll be able to learn very deeply about the topics that we teach. And they have an opportunity to become a peer educator afterwards if they want. We also have this program called a Certified Peer Health Advocate Program. And so maybe they don't have room for a general elective, but you would still think that they could benefit from getting more education about how to make healthy decisions and healthy choices in all of our areas. You could encourage them to register on Engage to become a certified peer health advocate. And if they do either of those things, they can actually then join our promoter of wellness peer education team. And that we know being a peer educator is an opportunity for them to positively influence other people. But what we also know is that the person who's most significantly influenced is the peer educator because now they have so much information and knowledge on these topics. And once they know it, they'll never not know it. And they'll have it ready and available in their brains as they're navigating life and managing life as a college student. So I will talk a little bit more about these things at the end. I'm going to shift a little bit to a resource and some of the conversations that we hope that you're going to be having and continuing to have with your student. So the Blazer Well is an electronic resource. I believe Carmen has put the link in the chat. And so this is a resource that provides some information. It's a collaboration between Wellness Promotion Office, Student Counseling Services, Community Standards, Student Accountability, and the Title IX office, who put a bunch of information together about just things that we know families want to ensure their students are being successful, either avoiding or recognizing resources. And so I hope that you will take some time to go through and read through this document if you haven't already, or excuse me, this website if you haven't already. I'm going to summarize a little bit of what we have in there in my next few slides. And so we're going to start with a little bit with substance misuse prevention. And so there is this concern, right, that substance use spikes when students go to college. And so there is actually something called the college effect. And that is where what we see is that sometimes there is an increased availability of substances. And when that is combined with the absence of parents and the desire to fit in, it can lead to potentially risky decisions about substances. And so, again, as we mentioned, family education and intervention before your student enters college can reduce the college effect. And so, those conversations, helping them think through situations, are so important. Even if your student doesn't engage in higher risk substance use, they may interact with a peer who does. And so being able to have these conversations where they feel comfortable talking about this really will empower them, so that they can be an active bystander, or they could intervene in a positive way if somebody else is using substances in a higher risk way. And so one of the things that we are really proud about at UAB is that we are not known as a party school. And so we actually have pretty low rates of substance use amongst our student population. Now, like any school, there are pockets of opportunities where parties may still happen and do still happen. And so students will be faced with situations where they're offered substances. And so you can really help them think through these things ahead of time. We had this was a cup that we provided at an event a while ago where we kind of outlined what are those harm reduction strategies, and what can people do so that they are not engaging in risky behavior. And so fortunately, the environment actually has a huge and significant influence on the substance use of students. And we have a pretty low risk environment in terms of the climate that we have as it relates to substance use on campus. When you are talking with your student about these things, it's really important to really have a back and forth conversation. Maybe your experience wasn't perfect when it came to substance use if you went to college, or maybe even within your family or whatever it may be. And so you don't have to not talk about it because of those things. You can have those conversations anyway. And we want those to be more than don't do it because I said so. Talking with them about higher risk behaviors such as drinking games or mixing substances is really important. Normalizing to them that it may be difficult to make decisions that are different from their friends, and encourage them to talk with you if they are struggling with this. And then remind them that maybe one group of people they hang out with is a party group. Remind them that not everyone is partying. Maybe they feel like they want to fit in with this group, but they recognize that this group engages in some higher risk behavior, really empowering them to say, actually, most of our students at UAB are not engaging in high risk drinking practices. And so if that's making them feel uncomfortable, encourage them to either be themselves and not engage in that, or encourage them to find another group that's not engaging in those behaviors. I think helping them think through a plan if. So, talking through scenarios can actually be really helpful. What will they do if a roommate is using substances? If they find themselves around drugs? If they are concerned about somebody experiencing a potential alcohol poisoning, or overdose, or if somebody is pressuring them to drink more than they want? really helping them think through these scenarios is just going to help them in the moment be able to respond and decide what to do. Uh, Encourage them to manage their stress in healthy ways, such as making sure they're getting adequate sleep, good nutrition, that they're somehow moving with physical activity, that they have those positive peer groups, and that, again, they're managing their stress well. And then encourage them, as I've mentioned, to get involved. We have Engage, which is really the biggest resource for students to see what all is happening around campus and what they can get involved with. And then Blaze or Pulse offers opportunities for community service. And then, of course, they can get involved with us. I'm going to shift now to talk a little bit more about one of our other topics, which is interpersonal violence prevention. And so this really centers around things like sexual violence, dating violence, and stalking. And we also want to expand this idea of relationships that could include unhealthy roommate relationships or friendships. And so when we're talking about interpersonal violence, we're often talking with students about the importance of understanding consent, the importance of understanding and communicating and respecting boundaries, engaging in healthy conflict, because conflict is not completely avoidable. And even in healthy relationships, healthy roommate relationships, healthy romantic relationships, there will still be conflict. And so, how do students manage this conflict? And then, of course, challenging harmful social norms that we know can influence a culture where sexual violence and dating violence occur. And so, again, talking with your student ahead of time, helping them think through some of these scenarios. What will they do if a roommate is disrespecting their space and things? How can they communicate with this roommate? How can they set boundaries with this roommate? Recognizing, you know, kind of their options if they start to recognize that their partner seems to be jealous or controlling. What can they do in that situation? Will they be able to identify that early on? What does that look like? Or if someone is pushing them past their boundaries, how do they then respond to that? How do they react to that? And one of the most important things in all of these situations is feeling confident and empowered to be able to assert themselves and their boundaries if needed. So when they're thinking through their boundaries, what are their boundaries with their roommates, with their friends, with their partners, with their body? How will they communicate that? What will they do if their boundaries aren't being respected? And then empowering them to trust their gut, to be firm if they need to know that they're valuable and their boundaries are as important as anybody else's. And that not everybody needs to like them, but everyone does need to respect them. And then, of course, letting them know that you would always believe them about any situation and that we would never blame them for any violence that somebody perpetrates against them. No matter what they do, none of us cause violence. The all responsibility for any violence that's done against a person is on the person who chooses to commit the violence. And we're going to move on now to sleep stress and self-care. And so these are truly the critical S's for success. Without the right amount of healthy sleep, without being able to manage our stress or to prioritize our self-care, it's hard to be successful in our classes. And so oftentimes people think, oh, I'm young, I don't need that much sleep. I can manage on less sleep. And really the research is pretty clear. It is foundational for success to ensure that students are getting enough sleep for both their physical and their mental health and well-being. And so it is recommended 18 to 24-year-olds should still be getting a minimum of 7 hours of sleep a night. And one of the ways that you can encourage your student to have healthy sleep is to talk with them about what is their routine. Routines are so important for success in general. A study routine, a going to class routine, an eating routine, a moving routine, and definitely a sleep routine. when you're moving them in if they're living on campus, when you're moving them into their room, look at the environment. What can they do to ensure that it's quiet and comfortable? Maybe they need blackout curtains ensure that they're not being woken up due to the sun coming into their room. Talking with them about maybe it's a good idea not to drink caffeine after a certain time so that that doesn't interfere with their sleep. And then, of course, there's some research out there that talks about the influence of blue lights, which are emitted by all of our devices, our laptops, our phones, our TVs, and how that can impact melatonin, which can reduce our feelings of sleepiness. And so, talking with them just about all of these things can really help them develop a healthy sleep habit. Stress, one of the things that we want to do is we want to normalize that stress is normal, actually, and that some stress isn't bad. There's some good stress, actually, that's out there, and some stress that can help us increase our performance when it's the right amount of stress. Um, but what's really important is when they're talking with you about the stresses that they're having, that you really are empowering them, that you believe that they can handle it, if unless it's severe and critical, right? That they can handle it. They've got this, right? And they can learn from maybe things where they've procrastinated and that's caused them some stress, or they didn't put in the study hours that they needed and that's causing them some stress. That's okay. They can learn from these things. So having that growth mindset and recognizing that so often it's the moments of struggle where things are hard and then we get beyond it, that really helps us figure out who we are and really builds our confidence. And so, really helping them understand, and for you too, to understand the difference between discomfort and distress. Moments of distress, intervention needs to happen. But moments of discomfort, where it's stress that's not overwhelming, people can grow from and can learn from. And so, talking with them about that. And then finally, for their self-care, really thinking about what are they doing consistently to prioritize their self-care. And so these are things like, are they getting enough sleep? Are they getting good nutrition? Are they moving? Are they getting outside? What are they doing that is daily a part of their everyday life that's helping them manage their and prioritize their self-care? Ask them, what's your self-care plan? See what they say. See if there's some holes there that you could talk with them about. See if they're thinking about things kind of holistically, right? Not just I don't know, treating themselves to a manicure or a pedicure, but what are they doing kind of on a consistent basis? And then talking with them about both those long-term strategies, but also some short-term in moments of stress. What quick strategies can they use? Some breathing techniques. We also have a resource called the UAB Well. It's an app that you can download on your phone, and it has a self-care plan. So I highly encourage folks to find this app. Like I said, it's called UAB Well. And they can build a self-care plan. It also has some videos to some helpful stress management strategies like visualization and breathing and yoga and meditation, the types of things that help us regulate our stress response. And so I want to encourage you to be thinking with them about what maybe things they already know, but really encourage them to check out the app. And it's not just available for students. Any member of the world anywhere can actually download it and use it. So if you're interested, you can do it too. So that's just kind of a quick glimpse of some of the topics and the encouragement of having these conversations with your student before they get here, and some of the things that we're going to be talking with them once they get here. One of the other things that we talk about is this idea of moving as a family member, as a guardian or a parent, moving from coach to consultant. As your student is getting older, they get to just kind of take what you say into consideration a little bit more. And that can be really, really helpful, because if they see you as a consultant versus the coach that's telling them what to do. The consultant is listening, giving ideas, asking them what they think is best, those types of things. That can really help open the door for continued conversations and for them to see you as this very valuable resource who just gives them great advice and ideas and listens to them and lets them make the decisions that they're going to make. And so how will you, as you think about this, how will you support them without fixing things for them? How will you handle decisions that they make that you don't agree with? How can you build a relationship where they want to talk with you because you give them the autonomy to make their own choices? And so some of the thoughts that we have as we think about this shift in the role is simply to just be open and honest with your student. You do not have to be an expert and you do not have to be perfect. You can figure it out together. You can say that you've not made been perfect in all of your decisions or choices, and that's okay. Avoiding lecturing or arguing, making sure that you want to have a productive back and forth conversation. And if, again, you don't have to be perfect. If it is getting to a place where it becomes a lecture or it's an argument, pause, come back to it later after you had some time to think through what's going on and how you can have a more productive conversation. Celebrate their successes. When they call you and tell you they aced that test they were so worried about, yay, excellent. But also let them know that they can share their struggles with you too. Hopefully they'll call you and say, I didn't ace that test and I'm really upset about it. And you can just support them in a non-judgmental way and ask them, what could you do differently next time, right? And then follow up, check in with them, find the right balance of checking in with them, ask how things are going, and just listen and support them. And so, as I mentioned, the Blazer Well expands actually on many of these topics. And so you do have an opportunity to have a more in-depth kind of exposure to this topic through that resource. So I encourage you to go through that. Okay, so I'm going to shift a little bit more about how your student can get involved with us. We do have lots of ways, and like I said, it is so important because if your student is getting involved with us at the highest level of taking our class or one of our training series, they are going to get a wealth of knowledge that they will be able to then positively influence others, but they themselves are going to be so positively influenced. And so the first one that I really want to talk a little bit more in depth about is the class that we teach. I did mention it. So it's a general elective. It's taught out of the School of Education, but you don't have to be in the School of Education to take the class. And it's specifically taught as part of the Community Health and Human Services program. But again, your student doesn't have to be in that program to take the class. It is a 400 level. However, it is an undergraduate and primarily a freshman and sophomore level class. We have really geared it to be that. So don't get scared by the fact that it's 400. It's equivalent to a 100 or 200 level class that your student can take and be successful in their first semester. It really covers all of the things that we've talked about in here, plus it talks a little bit about peer education. And one of the things that our students do is this is a service learning course also. So if your student happens to have a requirement to take a service learning course, this would meet that requirement. And although it's not taught through the Honors College, they can take it as honors by contract. So hopefully this is just kind of meeting lots of opportunities for requirements for students who are maybe in some different programs. They will have a semester-long self-care reflection, and then they will also have a project where they will identify a topic of interest to them, and they will identify a fun, interactive way to educate their peers on whatever the topic may be. So maybe their topic is healthy conflict. they'll create a game of sorts where they'll ask other students questions about healthy conflict, so that students can be thinking about how do they engage in this behavior, how do they build skills around this, and your student will implement that at the end of the year in an event that the class hosts, where they then have an opportunity to then become a peer educator, and educate the student about the topic that they've chosen, as it relates to our class. So that's one of the first ways, and really one of the most kind of deep and comprehensive ways that your student could engage with us and just get so much deep knowledge about our topic areas. However, as I mentioned, not every student has opportunities for general electives that are outside of their program. And so here is another training series that we offer. That's our Certified Peer Health Advocate training series. It is comprised of 4 workshops that a student can take. Each workshop is about an hour and a half. What we do is we coordinate these workshops all throughout the semester, and we typically do them in chunks. So we have all day Saturday trainings where they can come and they can complete all 4. We'll provide them with lunch. Or we have them where you can do 2 workshops together at the end of the day on a Friday, which is usually a more open time and available for students to participate, and then 2 Fridays, and they've completed all of their trainings. They can register and find all of the workshop dates in Engage. And at the end of the semester, we have a kind of recognition ceremony where your student can come, they'll get dinner, they'll get a token of appreciation for kind of committing to be a positive influence amongst our campus community. And then they can also ask questions about other ways that they can get involved. So we can talk with them about if they want to, at this point, become a volunteer peer educator with our department, or if we have some paid positions available, we'll talk with them about the application. And students who take both the class and this training series are eligible to apply for any of our student positions. And so that's really exciting. So as I mentioned, what are our peer educators and what do they do? Who are they? So our peer educators, our promoters of wellness, are truly paraprofessional health educators. This is so good also for many disciplines that students are going in. But honestly, we have students who are in genetics and in computer science who find that they really benefit from this program and do really well at it. But they are nationally certified. Once they begin working with us, they become nationally certified through a national organization, NASPA, and they go out around campus and provide peer-to-peer health education and skill building activities, which we know helps influence a healthier student culture. And so we have the 2 levels that I've mentioned. We have our PALs, which are volunteers, and they just volunteer with us 8 times throughout the year. So it's not, or throughout the semester. And usually those shifts are about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, where they're engaging in peer education, or they're helping us with some of the events that we do. And then we also have our lead PALs, which are our paid student positions. They only work 7 hours a week, and so most students are able to fit this within their schedule, and they also help us with outreach and events. But these peer educators also will help facilitate workshops and presentations. So they have a little bit more kind of opportunity for leadership. I have a video. We show this video in our orientation workshop, but I'm going to go ahead and show it here because I'm hoping that some of you either maybe have seen it but thought it was cute and want to see it again, or haven't seen it yet, and it gives you a better idea about what our peer educators do. So let me go ahead and press play and turn up my volume.
With me on the day in the life as a promoter of wellness, aka PAL. My name is Matthew, and I've been a PAL for a year. We're peer educators that work to promote healthy decisions on campus for students on topics such as alcohol, tobacco, cannabis, sexual and interpersonal violence prevention, as well as self-care and lots of other things. We do these through interactive games, pop-ups, and events on campus to help destigmatize these conversations for students. First up is the Wellness Promotion Office upstairs. Welcome to the WellPro office. So the first thing that we always do when we come to the office is say hi to anyone that's hanging out in the office. So, hey guys, come over here. This is our classroom where we actually teach CHHS 426. And if you come over here, this is where most pals are going to complete their office hours when they're in office and not on campus doing outreach. So that concludes our tour of the office. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab the iPad and check what's first on the list for me to get started on today in my office hours. Buttons. We're going to make some buttons. So if you didn't know, we're pretty famous on campus for our buttons at different events. We have this entire cart of buttons here, and we make all of the buttons ourselves. If you decided to come out, one of the many things that you get to do on campus is design and finish your buttons from start to finish if you'd like. So right now we're just going ahead and we're making the button here. It's a great stress reliever. It really is. And you know what else it is? Yeah, kind of loud. Now that I've completed button making, it's time to go to outreach. Looks like we're going today. We go out on campus 2 to 3 times a week, and you can find us right here and here. And sometimes we're here. Now we're back at the office, and we wanted to show you some of the merch you can get at Outreach. We also have cool events on campus like Take Back the Night, Silent Disco, and Great American Smokeout. Did I mention? It's all free. And to stay up to date with us, you can follow us on Instagram, Wellness UAB, or take our class CHHS 426.
Okay. So he mentioned our Instagram. That is definitely one of the ways that you can see what we're up to and your student can engage with us. So you can follow us on Instagram at @wellnessuab. Hopefully it gave you a little bit more information about the peer educator. If you are watching this at a later time, maybe you can share it with your student. And we're really looking actually at expanding our outreach this year to be going out at a minimum of 3 days and hopefully more. Excuse me. One of the things that's coming up in fall that I wanted to share with you is this Sky Campus Happiness Retreat. So this is, as you saw in the video, they mentioned that we do things like silent discos, we do different pop-up events, Great American Smokeout. We do a lot of different things throughout the year. We do safer spring break events, we do safe Halloween events, those types of things. But one of the things that we are doing that is kind of newer for us are coordinating these Sky Campus Happiness Retreats. And so these retreats are run through a national organization that we bring to campus. It is a little bit more of a time commitment. It is a 3-day retreat, and each day is about 3.5 hours. But we're going to be offering 4 retreat dates available this fall. And so, and the cost is pretty minimal. We are subsidizing the cost. If you go directly to the national organization, for students, it's about $300, and for faculty or staff, it's about $400, or for individuals. And so we are asking students just to kind of make a very small monetary commitment, which we think helps ensure that they come to all 3 days. It's $30, so $10 a day. We do offer financial hardship grants if a student has a financial hardship and really wants to do this. We don't want the $30 to be a barrier for them. But this program has a lot of research behind it. So you could Google Sky Campus Happiness, and there's a webpage that you can go to, and it will show you some of the research that's been done on this particular program. And so it has been shown to improve mental clarity and overall well-being, and also to reduce stress and anxiety. It also has some studies that have shown that it positively impacts sleep. And so these students during the retreat will engage in some mindfulness exercises, some emotional intelligence. There's discussion that centers emotional intelligence. They will 100% connect with the people who are in the retreat with them, and will really, really enjoy that kind of social connection piece. And then also we'll talk about kind of the leadership of prioritizing our self-care and being a role model of managing and prioritizing our stress and our self-care. And so what happens through the retreat is that they learn it's a breath work. So it's less of a meditation and more of a breath work. And so they learn a breath work that they can complete on a daily basis, or a few times a week, even if they want. It's a 20-minute breath work, and it is unlike any breath work I've ever done. I participated in the program, and it's different than just deep breathing. But there's something about it that really resets, I'm going to say, the autonomic nervous system. And it is a commitment to kind of stress management and self-care. So again, they can find it on Engage. They register through our campus recreation services membership page. All students have access to free campus rec services. And so this is something where they can register for that. So I did want to highlight that because I just think it's such a profound and impactful program that we want as many students to participate in as possible. And so the last thing I will leave you with is some contact information before we see if there's any questions for folks to have. So this is our department phone number. We are located in the Student Health and Wellness Center. So we are one of the offices with student health services and student counseling services. I've got two emails. We've got our general department email, wellnesspro@uab.edu. And then, of course, my personal email is harrellm, HARRELLM, @uab.edu. And we have our website as well as our Instagram. And so with that, I will say thank you so much for your time. And Carmen, if we have any questions, I am available.
Thank you so much, Micah. This has been a lot of information, very useful information as families transition their students and as the students themselves transition to campus. So I did put the website for Blazer Well, which is on our family's UAB EDU page. And so you can share it with others. You can look at it. As Micah said, sometimes having those conversations can be a little bit awkward. So having something you can refer to and say, UAB put this out, and so this is out there to help you, can be a way of starting those conversations. And there's also, I'm also going to put the link for that takes you to UAB Well, to that Well app that Micah was talking about. That's through counseling services, and there's very useful information. So what we wanted to bring to you today was a guide and resources and an opportunity to understand everything that UAB does and has for you and for your students as they navigate and make the best decisions that they can for their whole holistic health, not just their physical health, but their emotional, mental health, social health, all those aspects. And so if you have any questions at this moment, and I'm looking different ways because I'm looking also at Facebook, please place them on the Q&A section here or submit them through the comment section. And again, if you have any questions later, you can send them through families@uab.edu or at wellnesspro@uab.edu, and they'll get right back to you with your answers and resources that you may need. Again, we thank you for being here on Zoom and on Facebook, and this will be, the webinar will be posted later on our website, and also will stay here on Facebook so you can view it and share it with others. I don't see any questions at this time, Micah. Are there any last minute tips or strategies or things families should be thinking about before they come to campus? And I know you mentioned talking to students before they come to campus about making healthy choices and decisions. Is there anything else you would like to mention at this moment?
I would just say we are so excited to have your student. This is a lovely, lovely campus, such a wonderful community of people, and we cannot wait to welcome your student into our community, and we are here for them. And I hope to, there's an innumerable amounts of students that are coming in, but the ones that work with our office, I mean, we have just such a strong connection and support for them. And so my hope is that your student will get involved with us.
Definitely. And one thing that I wanted to mention to family members is make sure if you're here, you're already registered with the Family Hub, because that's how we got here to the webinars. But also be on the lookout, because we will send you updates about information. So the Sky Retreat that Micah mentioned, we'll post it out there so you can tell your student or remind your student, this is going on, go check it out. So through Campus ESP, through the Family Hub, we will send you information and updates, and even the link that your student can go to register for these events. So I want to thank everybody again for being here on Zoom and on Facebook. And if you can, take a break and join us back here at noon. We will have the webinar by the Collette School of Business. And then on Thursday, we will have our next webinar. Make sure I got that one right. It's student assistance and support. So our webinars continue, and I want to thank everybody for being here and our presenters, and thank you, Micah, for taking us through this journey today.
Thank
Have a
you.
great afternoon, everybody.